What's up y'all, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be doing a full face of Catrice makeup. I'm pretty pumped about this one. I recently did a full face of Catrice, which is their sister brand, and I was wildly impressed with about 90% of the products that I tried. So I'm really excited to see kind of what differences and similarities we have between the two brands. I am going to do a full day's wear test. We're going to get about 10 hours of wear in, and at the end of the day, I will come back and check in with y'all, see how it wore, how it held up, and give y'all my first initial impression thoughts. I will have all of these products listed and linked down below in the description box. So per usual, if you're ever curious about anything that I use in any of my videos, always check the description box. I squeeze as much information as I possibly can into that tiny little space. But without further ado, let's go ahead and zoom in, get my hair out of my face, and jump into the application of this Essence makeup. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get this party started. So up first, I picked up the Jelly Grip Hydrating Primer. I think we all know what they're trying to dupe here. This is definitely giving me Milk Makeup Hydro Grip vibes, and that is one of my holy grail products. I have loved it since it was released many years ago. I have been through several of them. It is just my absolute favorite. So let's go ahead and try this one out and see how well it does in comparison to that one. Now, if you are new here, hello and welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. I am 39 years old. I do have normal skin. I don't get very oily. I don't get super dry. I also live in a very hot, humid climate. I'm down here in Houston, Texas. Our summers get pretty brutal, and if I don't prep my makeup and set it correctly in the summer, it will just melt off of my face. So this is one of my favorite kind of primers to use in the summer, something that's going to keep my skin nice and hydrated, but it's still going to give it a nice grip to hold everything in place. I don't like to be super matte. I don't like to be super glowy either. I prefer like a natural finish to my makeup and something that has more of a light to medium coverage. So there you have it. That's kind of the, you know, down low on what I prefer. But I will say this went on really nicely. It feels a little bit more watery than the Milk Makeup or even the e.l.f. one does, but it still feels nice and hydrating, and it doesn't have quite the same amount of tack as those two have. So this might be something that's really ideal if you like the idea of those two products, but they're just a little bit sticky, because I know that the one from e.l.f. is definitely a lot more tacky than the one from Milk, and this one isn't nearly as tacky as either of those. So now we have kind of like 3 lanes down the road. But let's go ahead and jump into our next product. So I picked up the Magic Filter Glow Booster. This is a new release from the brand, and I can't remember how many shades this comes in, but I will have all of the information pop up on the screens for all of these products. But I picked up shade 10 Light, and this is a glass bottle. This one feels more like acrylic, but this one is definitely glass. It has a pump on it. So let's do a little bit on the back of my hand and see what the shade is gonna look like. I love a glow booster, but so many of them lean very warm, very orange, and this one looks like it's leaning pretty neutral, maybe a little bit of a peachy undertone. So I'm kind of excited about this one. The one from Catrice is one of my absolute favorites. That one came out earlier this year as well, and I have really been enjoying it. It's got a beautiful undertone to it. It doesn't lean super yellow or anything like that, and it works really well on my skin. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and apply this. I usually do it with a brush, but the brush that I use is dirty. So let's do it with some fingers. Why not? I'm not a big fan of doing this with my fingers, but it is what it is. So it does feel pretty thick, I will say that. It doesn't feel as thin in consistency as the other ones that I have tried, and it has kind of a funky smell to it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's not a pleasant smell. I only smell it like whenever I'm around my nose, so I don't think it's anything that's gonna hang on, but it's just not a very pleasant smell. All right, so this is what that is looking like on the skin, and it did give a really nice glow to it, but it also added just a tiny bit of coverage. So if you're somebody who likes something that's going to kind of give a little boost to the skin while adding just the tiniest little amount of coverage, this might be a really good one. It is a little bit thicker in consistency, so it's not as thin as the other ones that we've seen from like e.l.f., Charlotte Tilbury, Catrice, all of those, but it doesn't feel like greasy or oily. So it doesn't feel super heavy, it's just thicker in consistency. But let's go ahead and move on to foundation. So I picked up the Keep Me Covered Long Lasting Foundation. This is supposed to be a lightweight texture with a smooth matte finish, medium high coverage for up to 16 hours of wear. It's going to be waterproof and transfer proof. So we will see. Now, I did pick up the lightest shade that they had to offer, and just looking at this in the bottle, this doesn't look nearly as yellow leaning as the one from Catrice did, but it still does not have a good shade range. So there's minimal shades to choose from. So let's see how this works. I'm going to apply this with a sponge just because it's a full coverage, and I prefer something that's a little bit more matte and full coverage to be applied with a sponge. Now, like I said, I do not prefer a matte coverage, but we're gonna take one for the team and see what this does. Okay, so right off the bat, I will say that's a really good shade match for me, which really surprised me because usually brands that have a very limited shade range, they don't usually have a good shade match for me. They usually lean super, super neutral or very yellow. And this one, while it does lean neutral, it has just the slightest cool undertone to it. And I'm not mad about it, but let's see what kind of coverage we can get, how it's gonna sit, how it's gonna wear, and all of that. All right, so not bad. First impression, I think this looks really nice on the skin. It's not gathering or accentuating texture, doing anything funky. It does seem like it's going to dry down a little bit. I think it is definitely going to adhere to that matte claim, but with that glow booster underneath, it's kind of taking away from that. So I don't mind it. I will definitely have to try out this foundation without the glow booster underneath. But first impression right off the bat, I think it looks nice. So let's go ahead and jump into concealer. So I picked up the Keep Me Covered Concealer. This is what this looks like right here. It's kind of the one that goes with the foundation. This is supposed to be a buildable medium coverage, creamy texture with aloe vera, dermatologist tested for sensitive skin. So I do prefer a light to medium coverage as far as my concealer goes as well. So I'm excited about this one. So I did get the lightest shade in this one as well. And it does have this really nice doe foot applicator on the end. This one looks like it's going to be a really good shade match based off of what it looks like on the tube. So let's go ahead and put this under here. Oh, that's definitely leaning a little bit yellow, but it's not too bad. I can definitely counteract the yellowness with like a purple setting powder. I do have one in my collection, but we're not going to use it today. All right, so we're just going to blend this in with the sponge. I will say it does feel very lightweight, very creamy on the skin. It doesn't feel thick or heavy, and I think that looks nice. It does have just that slight little yellow undertone to it, but it's not really bad. I have other concealers in my collection that are way worse than this. So while it's not a perfect shade match, I think once I get everything else on, it'll be just fine. All right, so I think that concealer looks really good under my eyes, y'all. It is lightweight, it is creamy, it is definitely giving me medium coverage while still being hydrating. So definitely sticking to the claims that it has. And I think so far we're 4 for 4 with these products. I'm impressed so far. But let's go ahead and set this face down because I didn't pick up any cream products. Everything I picked up was powder. I figured if I really liked all this, we could maybe go back and revisit this with maybe some other products, some cream products, things like that. But I did pick up the 16-hour Cover and Last Powder Foundation. So when I was looking at the powders, they didn't have anything that really kind of like jumped out at me. They had a banana powder, but I've had that one before in the past and it was really yellow on my skin. But I did see in the reviews, a lot of people say this is beautiful to set the face with as long as you go in with like a fluffy brush. So that's what we're gonna do. This is in the shade Porcelain. So again, the lightest one that they had. This seems to be a trend. It does come in this nice plastic packaging, and there is a little sponge under here with a mirror as well, which I appreciate. I'm not going to use that sponge. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my under eyes with a brush and the rest of my face with a brush. So let me grab the brushes for that. If they are clean, I don't even know if I can find one for this. All right, so I found one. I found my Sigma X Kristen Dominique. This is the Brighten and Bake brush. So I'm just gonna go into this powder, pick it up. Now this does have a little bit of a pinky undertone to it, but it's more of like a peachy pink. So we'll see how this does, but I'm just going to pat this under my eyes, and then once I have it on, I'm gonna brush it back and forth so nothing clings and everything is just kind of smoothed out. Okay, that looks nice. That looks nice. All right, before I move on to the other eye, I wanna go ahead and set the rest of this half of my face so we can kind of compare. So I'm just gonna kind of pick this up. This is a Anise multi-powder brush, and I'm just going to stipple this on. Make sure I have it kind of pressed into the skin. I like to stipple everything. It kind of keeps everything underneath from moving and sliding around. That way you don't risk getting patching or grabbing or anything like that. And then once I have everything powdered down, I'll go back and just kind of fluff over everything. All right, so this is the side of my face that I have set with powder. This is the side that I still have not set with powder. And I have to say, this looks really nice. I'm impressed with how lightweight this looks and feels, given that it's a powder foundation. It's not cakey, it's not heavy. I don't look very makeup-y. And while it did kind of set and mattify everything down, I don't feel like I look dry and dehydrated. So I absolutely love that. And the last thing that I love is that it didn't alter the tone of everything that I have on underneath it. A lot of times powders that have kind of a tint to them can alter everything and change the color of your foundation and your concealer, and I don't see that happening. So I'm really happy with this so far. I'm super excited to see how this is going to wear throughout my day. So I'm going to go ahead and set the rest of my face, and then we will move on to bronzer, highlighter, and blush. For bronzer, I picked up this one right here. This is the Sun Club Luminous Bronzing Powder. This is in the shade 20 Sun-Kissed in California. This is the only shade that they have on the site. And I will say, I think this is going to be too orange for me, but I like the fact that this is a luminous bronzer. I like something a little bit more glowy and showy in the summer months. And look at how huge this pan is. This thing is enormous, but let's do a little swatch on the hand. This does feel very nice. It feels silky to the touch, and this is the color that we have. So I'm gonna do a swatch right there. It doesn't look as orange as I thought it was going to, but I still don't think this is going to be my perfect shade. So I'm gonna go in very, very, very lightly handed. I cannot stress how lightly handed I'm going to go in with, but this is a Singe Beauty F05. This is my favorite brush for bronzer. Well, powder bronzer at least. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick up a little bit. I'm gonna tap it off, and we're going to buff this into the skin. It's definitely pigmented, but it's not like overwhelmingly pigmented. I'm definitely able to really buff this in, fluff it out, and it's not leaving like a stripe or anything, so not bad. I don't think the color is perfect though. I still stand by that. I definitely think this could be a little cooler toned for me. I don't want it to be so cool toned that it leans on like a contour, but I like something that has more of like a pinky or red undertone, or something that is very, very neutral. And while this is close, it's still not going to be my perfect shade. All right, bronzer is on, and I will say it went on really nicely. It didn't patch, it didn't skip, it didn't grab or do anything weird. It does have like the slightest sheen to it. So if you want something that's not a flat matte and just has the tiniest amount of something to it, this could be good. But keep in mind, this is the only shade that they have, and for my fair cool tone skin, this is very, very orange on me, especially once I started to build it up a little bit. And also it does have a little bit of a fragrance to it. I've noticed that with a majority of their products so far. They do have a slight fragrance. It's nothing heavy, it's nothing that I can smell once everything is on, but when I go around my nose is when I can smell everything. But I'm just going back with my powder brush, no extra product, and just kind of stippling over top to kind of take down a little bit of that orangey tone and blend it into my skin better. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to blush. So I picked up a new blush and highlighter that they recently came out with. This is the Got a Crush on Apricot's Aura blush, and I just thought this was so cute. Like, look at the embossing in the pan, the detail. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Now this is definitely a little bit more on like the orangey side in person than it is in camera. I feel like it picks up just a little bit more desaturated, but still looks very beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and try this on the cheeks and see what it it looks like. So I'm going to pick this up with a Kristen Dominique X Sigma brush. This is the angled cheek brush. So I'm just going to kind of pat in here, coat my brush really well, and we're going to apply this to the cheek. Okay, so super lightly pigmented. I'm not getting a whole lot off the bat, which is fine. I don't mind a buildable blush as long as I can build it up to a good amount of color. And this is definitely giving a soft wash of color, which is very pretty, very nice if that's what you're going for. I know not everybody loves a punchy blush moment, and I definitely have my days where I don't want that. I want something a little bit more subtle to just add a flush of color to the cheeks, and that is what this is giving me. Very pretty. All right, I like that blush. I think it looks really pretty on the skin. It definitely has a soft sheen to it, but I like how it blended out. I like how it was buildable, and I like that it didn't grab or do anything weird. Very, very pretty. But let's go ahead and try on the matching highlighter that came with this collection. This is the Got a Crush on Apricots Baked Highlighter. So this is going to be like a peachy highlighter shade. Let's do a swatch of this one really quick. And you know what? Let's do a swatch of the blush too, because I didn't. This does not feel very like soft and smooth for a baked highlighter. It does feel a little gritty to the touch, but that's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and swatch this in the middle of my hand, and that is what it looks like. So you can definitely see that peach undertone, but it has a really pretty reflect in it. It did swatch out very smooth, and it doesn't look like it has a glitter in it as well. It's just a really pretty highlighter. Now, I do really love the original, what is it? The Essence highlighter, the one that everybody knows and loves. I do really enjoy that one. I actually repurchased it because I didn't have it in my collection, and I remembered really enjoying it. But let's do a swatch of the blush really quick on the side of my hand. So that's what that's what the blush looks like swatched out. Like I said, very lightly pigmented, but if you want just a flush of color, that's what you're gonna get. But let's go ahead and apply this highlighter to the cheeks. Okay, so I went ahead and just picked this up with a Blinged Brushes F25, and I did get quite a little bit of kick up in the pan, and it picked up a lot of product. So I'm just gonna tap it off a little bit, and we're just gonna very lightly buff this onto the cheek. Oh, that's pretty. The I Need a Nude highlighter, that's what it's called, right? Or is it just the nude baked highlighter? You know which one I'm talking about. I'm drawing a complete blank though, and I'm too lazy to get up and go grab it, but that looks very pretty. I like that. It definitely has a little bit of that peachy undertone to it, but it's not overwhelming, so I feel like I can pull this off. I feel like if things get too orange, I have a really hard time wearing them on my cool undertone. It just kind of clashes with everything, and I don't like the way it works. But if it has a little bit of like that pinkiness to it, I love it. And this looks really beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and move on to lips. So I picked up a liner and a lipstick from the brand, and let's start with the liner. So this is the Soft Precise Lip Pencil in the shade 03 Bold. So let's do a little swatch right here. I hope I got like a nice cohesive lip combo. It was really hard to tell on the website what they looked like. They all started to kind of look the same. So fingers crossed these are gonna work together. But that is what the lip liner looks like swatched out on the back of my hand. It's a very pretty like dusty rose shade. Love it. I also like that this is a sharpenable pencil. So let's go ahead and pop this on the lips and see how it's gonna do. All right, so I like the way that went on. It didn't pull and tug, it wasn't dry. A little bit on the creamier side, but not so creamy that I feel like it's gonna like slide around my lips. And I like the color. It's definitely a little bit more pinkier on my lips than it is on the back of my hand, which is definitely the case depending on the tone of your lips, the undertone of your skin. Things can pull differently, but let's move on to the lipstick. So I picked up one of their semi-matte lipsticks. This is in the shade 06 Real. Yeah, so let's do a swatch on the back of the hand. I was looking to see if the packaging said something else about it. So that is what the lipstick looks like. A little too deep for the lip liner, but It is what it is. We're going to try it on anyway. I do like the shade of it. I just wouldn't necessarily pair this lip liner with this lipstick. But let's go ahead and try it on. It did feel very creamy on the back of my hand. And I want to see how this is going to go on. Very pretty. I like the shade of this lipstick. It went on nice and creamy. It didn't feel like it was super creamy because it is a soft matte lipstick, but it wasn't really dry. It didn't tug, it didn't pull. Even where I have like this little dry spot right here, it didn't grab and do anything weird. So it feels very comfortable on the lips, but I'm excited to see how it's gonna wear. So this is going to wear off. It doesn't claim to be like transfer proof or anything like that. It is a bullet lipstick, so I will have to reapply it. But the question is, how long is it going to last? Is it going to wear off just after a little bit of just walking around, talking, all of that? Or is it going to be one of those that you need to reapply after you eat? So we will see. But let's go ahead and set this face and then we will jump into eyes. I like to set my face before I do that because I feel like if I set my face after I do my eyes, I risk creasing on my lid. I risk my liner and my mascara running, all of that. So I picked up the Fix and Last 18-hour makeup fixing spray. This is going to give a instant matte effect and it's supposed to be waterproof. Now, like I said, I am not a fan of matte makeup, but we were limited with what we had to work here. So we're gonna try this anyway. And the point of this is to test these out, see how they're gonna wear, see if they're gonna last, see if they're gonna hold up. And then from there on, you can decide if it's something that's going to fit into your routine, something that you're interested in, and if it's something that's going to work for your skin. So let's prime this pump really quick. Okay, not the finest mist in the world, but I will say this spray's a lot better than the one from Catrice did. I don't know if it's the bottle that I got from that one, but it's really hard to press, so it's hard to spray on your face. But let's do this. Okay, it's aggressive. It's fine, but it's aggressive. I felt like somebody was shooting water in my face. All right, so that does look nice on the skin. It didn't like have water droplets. It's not hitting the makeup funky. I am going to press this in just a little bit and we'll see how this wears throughout the day. All right, so brows are done, eyes are primed. I didn't pick up either of those products from the brand, so I just kind of pulled other things from my collection. So for my brows, I went in with my NYX Powder Louder Brow Pencil that I've been testing out and really enjoying. And then I primed my eyes with my MAC Paint Pot in the shade Painterly. This is my Holy Grail eyeshadow primer, and I figured this is going to give me a better idea of the performance of the eyeshadow palette because I picked up the Nothing Compares to Nude eyeshadow palette. Love the name of it, absolutely adorable. I love a word pun. And these are really cute. I've heard really good things about the formula in here, so I'm excited to try this. But I will be honest, I didn't realize that this was going to be so lightly pigmented when I picked it up. So I might pull in the bronzer for a little bit of depth, but a part of me wants to just stick to this. So we'll see how it goes as I get into this. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with this shade right here. This does have the shade names on the back, and this one is going to be 15 days. So I'm gonna pick that up with a Morphe M504 brush, and I'm just going to fluff this into my crease, see how much depth and definition we can get. I did get a little bit of kick up in the pan, but not a whole lot. It did pick up really nicely, and it does seem to be going on really nicely. It's a little bit more pigmented than what I thought it was gonna be, so that's good. That's always a plus. And it looks like this has a tiny bit of sheen to it. Like, it's not quite a satin, but it's not a flat matte either. Okay, pretty. All right, so I'm trying to decide what my next move is because we only have these two mattes in the pan, and then these other 4 shades are all shimmers. So I think I want to try and play with all of these shades, but I'm deciding if I want to do this one on my outer corner and bring it onto my lower lash line. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just to give me a little bit of depth out here, I decide I really do want to stick to the eyeshadow palette itself. So I think ultimately that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that shade up, which is called All the Flowers, with a, what is this? A Sigma E55 brush. And I'm just gonna start to like pack this into my outer corner. I'm not gonna fluff it. I'm not gonna treat it like I would a matte shade. I want to treat it like a satin but I definitely want to have that depth, that definition, a little bit of drama and smokiness out here. And it's definitely doing it, but obviously it's not going to give me the same punch and impact as it would if it was a matte. I would have preferred this had been a matte, but we're going to work with what we have. All right, so I went ahead and primed my NYX glitter primer for the rest of the shimmers in here. I do like the way that that looks on the lid. Again, I wish it was a matte, but we're gonna move on. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a combination of these two shades on the lid and then this one right here on the inner corner. So I'm gonna start with this shade right here, which is called Give It Another Try. I'm gonna pick that up with my finger and I'm just going to tap this on like the center portion of my lid, blending it into this outer corner shade, making sure that everything is nice and blended. That does look really pretty. That's a really nice like satin metallic. It's not quite a full-on shimmer shade, but it's not quite a satin either. Not super punchy. I didn't expect anything super punchy from this, but it still looks pretty. Okay, so next I'm going to go in with this shade right here, which is called 7 Hours. So again, I'm going to pick that up with my finger and I'm going to pop it on that inner portion of my lid, bringing it all the way over to the inner corner, but not going into the inner corner. And then I'm just gonna kind of blend it into everything else. So we have like this nice gradient on the lid. All right, so last we're gonna pick up this shade right here. This one is called Fancy Restaurant. I'm picking this up with a Sigma E45 brush. I am gonna spray it with a little bit of my MAC Fix Plus just because I don't want to get a lot of fallout and I want it to really stick on my inner corner. And we're gonna pop this in here. All right, so the eyes are almost complete. We still have to do mascara, but I did throw in some water into my lower waterline and a liquid liner on my lid. I forgot to pick up a like pencil liner for my waterline, so I just went in with my Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal liner in the shade Cinnamon. I know I'm cheating. This isn't even affordable, but it's my favorite. But I did, however, pick up a black liquid liner from the brand. So this is the Lash Princess liner. This is in black waterproof, and I will say I'm not really impressed. I did get a nice line, but this was kind of hard to work with. I don't know if it's because it's the waterproof formula. Let me know if you have the original one and if you find it easy to work with, but I found that I really had to like press hard to get any pigmentation. I swatched it on the back of my hand because I was like having a hard time, and you see if you go in with soft strokes, it doesn't do a whole lot, but if you press, it's gonna give you that. And I don't like to press hard on my lids. I do have more mature lids. I have like some wrinkles and like some loose skin, things like that that comes with aging. So I wouldn't say this is mature skin friendly, but if you like to press a little bit hard and get like, I don't know, a nice liner that way, this is fine, but not for me, not impressed. But let's do mascara. So I picked up the Lash Princess False Lash Effect mascara. This is a waterproof mascara. If you've been here, you already know I have very watery eyes and I like a waterproof mascara. So I picked up this one. I have heard lots and lots and lots of good things about Essence mascaras, so my expectations are very high for this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and curl my lashes really quick, and then we're gonna throw this on one eye, compare, see what it does, and then we'll finish off this look. All right, so this is one coat of the mascara, and I definitely think it gave me a little bit of something. It kind of lengthened them a tiny bit, definitely gave me some more definition, but let's go ahead and build this up with a second coat and see what they're gonna do. All right, second coat is complete, and I think my lashes look beautiful. I really like what this did for them. They definitely have like this wispy effect to them, which I really like. I don't like them to look clumpy. I do like something that lengthens, but I don't want anything to be like ridiculously lengthening either, and I think they look really pretty. I like this. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the other eye, and then we're gonna kind of do like a first impression, like try on thoughts, and then I'll go throughout my day. All right, y'all, so this is the completed look, and I really love the way that it turned out. I'm impressed with the way that my eyes turned out after looking at this little palette. I was worried that it was going to be so lightly pigmented that you weren't going to really be able to see anything. It wasn't going to show up, and I have to say I'm really impressed with the way that this performed and the pigmentation in here. I think it's beautiful, but first impressions, I think we've got some really good products in here. I definitely found some products in the Essence line that I enjoyed more than some of the ones in the Catrice line, and vice versa. So I'm gonna go ahead and go throughout my day. I've got some things going on, some work to do outside of my YouTube little life, and I'm gonna come back at the end of the day. We're gonna see how it all wore, what it looks like, and I will give you my final first initial impression thoughts. All right, y'all, so we are back. It is the end of the day. I have had this makeup on for about 10.5 hours now at this point, and I have to say, generally, I'm overall very impressed and happy with the way that my makeup wore. The only issue that I have found is my forehead did kind of separate and settle into my lines, and that happened almost immediately. I would say within like the first couple of hours, I noticed that my lines on my forehead were super prominent. That usually happens with a heavier coverage foundation, but I do have heavier coverage foundations in my collection that don't do that. So it's one of those that I'm not totally surprised, but it's something that I don't want to happen. But other than that, I didn't experience any issues. Nothing broke up around my nose or around my mouth. Even where my glasses sit right here, you can definitely see the indentation, but all the makeup is still sitting there. So it wore really well. It was extremely hot outside today. I think it was like 93, but felt like 193. So something to kind of keep in mind. It was very hot, very humid. It was a lot, and I wasn't even outside that long. But let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit and chat about these products, because I do have some thoughts on some of these. All right, so I'm gonna kind of go through some of these products. I'm gonna kind of tell you which ones stood out to me, which ones I'm not a fan of, and then the rest of them I'll have to give you my full thoughts in a future speed reviews video. But up first is the primer. I thought this was nice. It felt very hydrating on the skin, but it didn't have a whole lot of tack to it. So I told you at the beginning of the video, if the Hydro Grip from Milk Makeup or the one from e.l.f., I'm drawing a complete blank. If those two are too sticky for your skin, you might like this one. It's a little thinner in consistency. It does have a more watery feel to it, and it doesn't quite have as much tack. So not my perfect primer, but I'm also not upset about it either. I think this might be one that I like a little bit more in the winter months when I don't need my makeup to grip to my face quite as much. The Magic Filter, this was fine. I need to keep playing with it. It was a little bit thicker, but I do like the fact that this doesn't have that super yellow undertone to it, but I do think it's a little too dark for me to wear on its own. So something to keep in mind if you are super fair skin. As far as the foundation and the concealer went, I thought these wore really nicely. They are a little bit more matte than what I generally prefer, and I did enjoy the concealer more than I enjoyed the foundation. But I will say, as far as shade range goes, even though it's completely awful, I appreciate the fact that the lightest foundation was not super yellowy on my skin like the one from Catrice, but these are just kind of okay right off the bat. I need to keep testing them out. The setting spray, I can't really tell you just because I've only worn it once and I don't know how this makeup would wear on its own anyway. One product that I was completely not a fan of, and it's more so because of the shade, not the formula itself, was the bronzer. I think the formula is beautiful. I like the way that it went on. I like the way that it sat on the skin and that little bit of glow that it had, but this is too orange leading for me. Give me something a little bit more cool or a little bit more neutral undertone, and this is a fantastic bronzer. So if you like more of that warmth to your skin, or if you have a different skin tone where you can pull that off, this is an excellent affordable bronzer. I really do like the formulation of it. The blush and highlighter, I thought both of these were beautiful. This is definitely going to give you a more subtle tint to the cheek, but it still looks very beautiful. It almost has a blurring effect to it. It has a tiny bit of a sheen, not enough that you could wear this as a highlighter or skip highlighter if you like a glowy cheek, but just enough to kind of blur. And the highlighter I thought was very beautiful as well. It did swatch out a little bit on the dry side, but it went on absolutely beautiful. I like the tone of it. I don't have a whole lot of peachy highlighters in my collection because they usually have a deeper base and they don't wear well on my skin, but I thought this one was really, really pretty. So I was impressed with that. These are two new releases from the brand. The powder, not bad. First impression, not bad. It wasn't as thick and heavy as I expected it to be because it's a powder foundation, but again, I need to keep trying it out, but not bad, not bad. The eyeshadow palette, this impressed me. Y'all, I've had this eyeshadow on for what I say, 10.5 hours at this point, maybe closer to 11, and no creasing. The pigmentation is still there. Nothing fell out under my eyes. Everything looks really, really good. And this was more pigmented than what I thought it was gonna be. I would definitely like to pick up another one that has maybe a little bit more of like a shade range to it, maybe something a little bit darker, because this one, I wish that we had more of a matte selection in here. If you're gonna give me just 2 mattes, I need one of these to be a lot darker than the other one. I would have loved it if this had been a matte, but you know, you kind of get what you get. I was able to create one cohesive look after all. I didn't use this shade, but I used the rest of them. But I thought it came out really nice. It's a very pretty, super affordable. This is like $4. And look at this beautiful look that I got. Like, you would never look at this and be like, oh, she skimped out. This is good. I really like this. The lip products, these were okay. I have not touched this up at all today. This lipstick did dry down super matte, and it didn't completely dry down my lips, but it was a little uncomfortable. Like, I could feel like my lips slowly dehydrating throughout the day, and it did kind of slide around after I ate. You can kind of see like this ring of color around my mouth. I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but in person I can see it, and usually that means that the lip liner isn't working and holding everything in place. So these are okay. I want to test them with other products in my collection and see if maybe individually they're fine and they just don't work well together. We have 2 more products really quick. I said I wasn't going to go through all of these, and here I am going through all of them. The liquid eyeliner, no, this is a pass for me. It's way too dry. You have to press way too hard to get a lot of pigmentation out, and it's just not going to work for my eyelids. Mine are a little bit more on the mature side. I have some wrinkles, I have some loose skin, and I had a really hard time getting just this tiny little faint black line on my lid, so this is a pass. But the mascara, this is beautiful. I love the way that my lashes look today. It really does look like I have on a very wispy false lash, and I like the separation. I like the length that I got. I got a tiny bit of volume, but it wasn't so much volume that it clumped up, and my eyes did water today, and nothing like dripped under my eyes, nothing settled under my eyes. I didn't get like black tears as my eyes watered down my face. So super impressed with this, super affordable. The hype is real on these. I've heard so many people rant and rave about these mascaras, and I'm a fan. I love them. But that is going to complete this video, y'all. This is all the products from Essence that we tried today in this video, and like I said, overall I am ultimately impressed with the way everything looks and the way everything wore. But let me hear from you. I want to hear all of your thoughts down below in the comment section. I do have a list of affordable brands that I want to do a full face of, but if there is one in particular that you want to see, let me know what it is. I can quickly jump that to the top of my list and give that to y'all somewhere in the near future. But let's have that conversation, light up that comment section, and as usual, I want to thank you all so much for watching my video and spending your time with me. It truly does mean so much to me, and if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that notification bell so that you can be notified of all my future posts here on my channel. I do post quite a few videos every single week, and I wouldn't want you to miss one. But until my next video, have a good one. Bye!